Jeff Hamilton from the Winnipeg Free Press. The talk of the town right now was what we just saw. Jonathan Toews introduced as a member of the Winnipeg Jets for a guy that has only worn the Chicago Blackhawks jersey, and we've seen him do so many special things. Was a little surreal, I think, for a lot of people watching him pull on that Jet jersey down at Canada Life Center.
Yeah, as you mentioned, obviously somebody who's so completely attached to the Chicago Blackhawks, and particularly their success over those, dare I suggest, dynasty years. For him to put on a Winnipeg Jets jersey, just the whole just the whole press conference in itself, like the video to start off with, the setup in which they had them sitting and then standing and then sitting again. I'll be honest with you, it looked kind of like it. You're right. It is surreal, and it almost feels weird, right? Like it feels weird for a guy who's coming home to be putting on that jersey. And I think a lot of that, Huss, is, while it's awesome that he is coming home, I think the big question mark is what exactly are we getting with Jonathan Toews? And, besides the reports that suggest, his hands are there, his feet are there, all those things, you never really know until you see him in game action. But that doesn't stop the excitement and the obviously celebratory tone of the Jets organization, right? Like, I mean, they're talking about, how great this is. Like they've, landed on the moon in a lot of ways. And the thing is it is a great thing, but I think, Huss, like Jonathan Toews' future, what it could look like, I think all this depends on what you think you're getting from Jonathan Toews. You're either really excited if you think this guy is going to be the JT-19 that we saw dominate the NHL for a good chunk of his career, or you're looking at it as a guy in his late 30s who hasn't played hockey in 2 years. And while it's nice that he puts the home jersey back on, you wonder, how much of the load he can handle here. And it's certainly when you look at the offseason so far, how much he's going to have to hold.
Yeah, I mean, like it was, and again, we'll find out more from the scrum, but this is a guy, as I've said before, who has absolutely nothing to prove. And
totally.
And he has held himself to such a high standard throughout his career. I certainly lean on betting on Toews as opposed to against him based on the resume that he brings to it. But also the fact that, Jeff, this is a guy that has an incredible legacy, an incredible reputation. And I don't think he's so desperate just to get back into the routine of being on a team that he would even consider coming back if he didn't believe that he was going to be a very good version of himself. And people in the chat can speculate one way or the other. We can expound on this program. The one person that knows Jonathan Toews the best is Jonathan Toews. And I don't think we're having this conversation. I don't think he's standing up there in his hometown coming back to the NHL if he doesn't truly believe that he can come back and be a difference maker and a real positive addition to this hockey club.
We talked about this when the news broke before his official signing on July 1st, Huss, is that, with all the options he could have had to the other teams he could have played for, he chose the one team really where he couldn't hide. He's not going to be able to hide anywhere, right?
Yeah,
he's going to be
not a quiet market.
This isn't this isn't one of those markets where you go in, you get the introductory, press conference, and then you kind of move on. Like, this guy has turned into kind of the star of the Winnipeg Jets, and because of his vast experience in this league, he's going to be asked to talk about everything. The Jets' good runs, the Jets' bad runs, the Jets' bad power play, the Jets' playoff, playoff issues, and that's a burden which he apparently is willingly taking on. And that, to me, to your point, suggests that this guy believes that he's more than capable of being a top six forward. But I also felt in his press conference that he kind of has this attitude of like, he doesn't need to prove anything, right? Like, it's like, even the way he's talking about some of the, medicine that seems so measured and calculated from the outside. When you talk to him, he's just like, yeah, a friend, I guess you could call him, suggested I should, do this. And it was, it's like, why not? Like I had some time in between my two scheduled trips to Europe. Like that's verbatim, like, so you wonder, like, I'm not saying he's speaking laissez-faire about the opportunity, but there's that confidence, right? That captain seriousness that's come out in his press conference. And again, I think that's a good sign, because if he does come out and it is a flop, Huss, it's kind of like, oh, well, what happened here? Because it's a lot of hype heading in, and it doesn't help that the Jets have put on this, rolled out this event with his signing, to tee up high expectations even further.
Hey, listen, there should be high expectations. This is a team that won the President's Trophy. This is a guy that we don't need to go down his resume. And granted, yes, he had some health issues and he was away from the game, but this isn't just some veteran forward in the National Hockey League. This is Jonathan Toews. And to your point, Jeff, it is very obvious, and I don't think there could be, especially considering some of the things we've heard about the reasons why Ehlers left, I don't think there could be a better sign for the organization of the way that Toews is handled. I mean, Toews putting out that Instagram post of the reasons why and his roots here. I mean, if you're a Winnipeg person, how does that not sort of bring you in? And to your point, he knows exactly what he's getting into here and is embracing that challenge. I think that's great for how that projects, his level of confidence of what he'll be able to do. But also, listen, in this market, in any Canadian market, you want people that show up to work embracing the attention, the opportunity, how invested this team, this community is. And very few people will know that, as well as a kid that grew up here and has played in this building basically throughout the renaissance or the rebirth of the hockey club. And in some ways, the Jets came back to the National Hockey League in 2011. Jonathan Toews coming back to the National Hockey League with the Winnipeg Jets is one of the coolest stories that, again, could go in some different ways. But I think we're seeing a guy with a mindset that he's not only coming back to be back in the NHL, but to be a big part of a team in a city that he knows will make a real difference to everyone that's invested, including a ton of family and friends that are going to be at most of his games.
Yeah, I think you make a great point here, Huss. Regardless of how it turns out, how well, Jonathan Toews can play or perform after his 2 years off, it's okay to be excited about this information. We deal with a lot of shit in our daily lives. It's okay to feel good about a guy who has such a, as you mentioned, stellar resume, easily the most decorated Manitoba hockey player, to feel good about that, right? To feel good that he chose his home, that he had options and came back here, right? We constantly hear every single year, particularly this time of year, how nobody wants to be in Winnipeg. We've seen that. We've heard that since the Jets had come back, as you mentioned, in 2011. It's nice to see, a guy, regardless of where he's at in his career, choose the city that he grew up in, a city that's small, a city, again, that you can't hide, and to embrace that, right? I think that should be celebrated regardless of what we see from 19 this season.